Well, let's get to a potential free agent option, a little bit of low hanging fruit, but one that makes some sense, and we'll try and be somewhat brief with it. But it is this player has a lot of stuff that resonates with the Bengals free agency philosophy, at least through the Marvin Lewis era, which is past their prime, former high pick, still has some left in the tank. There are some questions. Maybe you feel like you can get a big name that is a bit more affordable. This guy just became available, and that is defensive end Joey Bosa. Now, before I pull up a brief video that we're going to talk about, John, you also wrote something on A to Z Sports about this and the connection between the Bosa brothers and Joe Burrow. So maybe there's some connection there. I know the Niners, I think, are kind of trying to lobby to get Joey Bosa over with his brother there. But fun fact, by the way, when I was researching Joey Bosa, did you know that his cousin is Jake Kumaro?
I did not.
Yeah, I found that out. I didn't know that either. So fun fact about Joey Bosa and a Bengals connection there. But talk about your article that you had written up a little bit there on A to Z.
Yeah, I think we've seen this kind of thing before. A former first-round pick, a high draft pick with that pedigree, entering the back half of his career. That means he's going to be cheaper. It means that money may not necessarily be the number one thing that he's thinking about. I do think that the 49ers make the most sense and are probably going to be the favorites here, and I would expect that's where Joey Bosa ends up. But if there's another team that enters the equation, if that for some reason doesn't work out, I think the team that just lost one of Joe Burrow's best friends and an Ohio State edge rusher makes the most sense to kind of help fill that void, and also obviously would need as many bodies on the edge as possible. Joey Bosa is obviously more of a name than a talent for what he is right now, and he was a legitimately very good player for the Los Angeles Chargers for a number of years. His peak was probably in 2021, a year after he signed, at the time, the largest contract for a defensive player in NFL history, but he has missed, I think, 28 games in the past 3 seasons. He played as many games last year as he did the previous 2 seasons combined, which is why I think he got like a sympathy Pro Bowl honor, if you will. But yeah, I think he's always been just a better version of Sam Hubbard, where he doesn't have the eliteness and the athleticism that his younger brother Nick Bosa has, which is why Nick Bosa was formerly the highest paid edge rusher in the NFL. So there's that and how that kind of ages, but I still think that he's worthy of a roster spot, and his salary, he can't demand anything more than half of what he was set to make this past season. So there's affordability, there's a clear connection with him and Burrow, there's a clear need, and there's that pedigree that we talked about that the Bengals clearly value. So I think this makes a lot of sense as that mid-tier free agent option.
And in a year wherein the Bengals may go, like I just mentioned earlier, where they may go with edge rushers pretty heavy in the draft, as opposed to maybe free agency. Maybe they again focus on the interior and free agency, and then go edge rusher in the draft. This would be a veteran addition to what would be a pretty young group, and like you said, may be a good option. So let's take a look at Bosa here. Got some stats and all kinds of different stuff for everybody to kind of check out on this profile here. Again, a little bit more of a name, and that picture's probably brings a cringe right there for a lot of people. A little bit more of a name now than an on-field producer, and ironically, not that much younger than Trey Hendrickson, although he does primarily play the left. 6'5", 280, so he's kind of that bigger guy that the Bengals like at defensive end. He's 29, turns 30 in July. He is entering his 10th season, has played 9, and of course went to Ohio State with his brother went there, Joe Burrow went there, etc. Career stats: 343 total tackles, 72 sacks, so no schlub there. 17 forced fumbles, that's pretty impressive. 4 recoveries, 87 total tackles for loss. He was a 5-time Pro Bowler, including this last year, where you go, and he was the 2016 Defensive Rookie of the Year. So, a very good career despite injuries and other things kind of hanging him up over the last couple of seasons. Like you said, I think as the beginning part of his career and the middle part of his career were pretty outstanding, and then some injury stuff hit. Here's the RAS score from way back, 8.9. So like you said, a good athlete, not an absolutely outstanding one, but did show some good metrics in a lot of different ways, particularly the agility, And then, of course, the vertical was not good. So, you can kind of take that for what you will. Here's some stuff. Now here's the thing you're going to note. Nice play chasing down Matt Ryan on the Falcons, though. So this shows you the age. This one right here, this was actually a 5-man front. He was lined up over the right guard and got past him for the sack of Mahomes there. And I you know what, I'm going to go back here. I want to go back a sec. The reason I went slow-mo on the other ones and regular for regular speed on this other one is just because I want to show the get off when he was early. I mean, you see the speed was there, right? And then, here he as I said, he kind of swims over the right guard, gets past him and brings down Mahomes for a play there. And then the next one here is what was the next one we have coming up here? Oh, Mahomes again. And here he is. I believe that might be Eric Fisher on that side there that he took over, brings Mahomes down. And then, of course, this one and Joe's first game here, just absolutely turnstiles Bobby Hart and brings him to the turf, unfortunately. And the Bengals ended up losing that game. So, again, a guy that the problem with those clips, they're all from 4 years ago, 5 years ago, even longer. There are some good clips of late, but they are far more frequent early in his career. And that's why you kind of come with this with a little bit of hesitancy in it that, what can he give you? He made the Pro Bowl last year, but he had 5 sacks. There's a lot. There are questions, and he's up there in age. So you go, okay, well, even though he primarily has played the left side, not the right side that Trey Hendrickson has played, if you're kind of trying to replicate some of those statistics, where have those been? I mean, 2.5 sacks in 22, 6.5 sacks in 23, 5 sacks in 24. And in 4 of his first 6 seasons, John, he had double-digit sacks. So are you paying for the name? Are you paying for production? I don't know.
You're paying for the name. Like, it is what it is. I think he's better than, even if Sam Hubbard was fully healthy in 2025, I think a fully healthy version of Joey Bosa at this point is better. So there's relativity to kind of assert with that. Again, like, the price definitely matters here. I think his cap hit was going to be around like balloon to like 30 something million this year, which is why he got cut. I don't know what he was projected to take home in terms of actual cash, but I think at this point teams know that he's definitely past his prime, and this is about finding the place where he would be motivated to really finish out his career strong. And obviously he would definitely do that playing alongside his brother. But again, if that doesn't happen, I think going back to Ohio, where there's a lot of Ohio State fans who go to Paycor on Sundays in the fall, playing in the same locker room as Joe Burrow, who they were teammates for a year, and obviously they've remained close in the offseason. I think it was more of Joe having a relationship with Nick because they were at Ohio State at the same time, but that friendship, that brotherhood has kind of just grown over recent years, and obviously Sam Hubbard is a part of that as well. So I think Cincinnati makes sense as a place where you could get him to really maximize what he can do in his final years in the NFL. I wouldn't imagine it's a contract that's more than like 2 years in length, and there's probably an out after year 1 if it gets to that point. But again, you have to just read the terrain of what the Bengals typically look for in signings like this, and I think this makes a decent amount of sense.
So we talked about one of our first free agent profiles we've done so far this year was Chase Young, another Ohio State guy, and questions about him, injuries, but productive at times. Let's just say, and I know Chase has played both left and right, let's just say no Hubbard, no Hendrickson. And these are the 2 guys you net as possible replacements. How are you feeling?
What came in the draft? Because that's not enough. I'll just say it right now.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think you're paying more for names than production. It would be much better than nothing in those scenarios, right? I mean, those are 2 guys that you feel that they could come in and definitely contribute. I just, how much are they giving you in respect that the other 2 did if you were to lose them? So again, low-hanging fruit is the Ohio State stuff and the names and all that kind of stuff, but these are the types of targets, again, former high picks, maybe not lived fully up to potential at times in their careers. Maybe you get them a little more affordable hometown guys that are Ohio State guys. Maybe that's where the Bengals outside free agency wheelhouse sits. And so that's why we decided to talk about Joey Bosa along with Chase Young a couple of weeks ago, but two guys that could help. But I don't think that the production they would provide would be 17 and a half sacks. Maybe not even combined, so I don't know, but a name I think to monitor. Like you said, I think the Niners might be the more logical landing spot, but the Bengals probably are in the mix, I would think, for his services too.
I mean, they're gonna have to be in the mix for all these pass rushers. The more pass rushers that hit the market, the better for them. I think Jermont Jones is another name to kind of watch. Another former Ohio State guy. I think someone that Bengals fans really wanted to sign a couple years ago. He's now on the market. So the more saturated that it gets, the more likely the Bengals are going to be able to reel in probably 2 or 3 of these guys. As they're going to be desperate to fill out that room.
Yeah.